Tonight, the Real Sim Racing Asphalt's Assault B Series presented by Inside Sim Racing and Derek Spear Designs is live from the Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas for race 7 to 10 on the 2014 campaign live on LSRTV. Alongside Harrison Weidlitz, my name is Evan Pasoko as always. And Harrison, we're starting to close in on the end and the latter stages of this season as we get set to get down to those final races to crown a champion. And we're going to roll through Kansas, a night race, 120 laps on the board tonight.
Yeah, and only 4 races left to decide the championship in this one. And it's certainly interesting on top of the board. Dwayne Vincent got that win recently, and he's looking really stout right now on the speed charts, but actually just overtaken by Adam Benefield. But this is an interesting track because the preferred groove right up against the wall, kind of unusual, a little different for these drivers here tonight.
And let's take a look back 1 week ago. It was the Michigan International Speedway for 90 laps around that 2-mile D-shaped oval, a long one, and that would see Bobby Terrell come out on top. He would win that one after starting in the number 4 spot. He led 19 laps to take home that checkered flag. Adam Benefield was able to recover from an off week the week prior. He gets a second place result. He led the most laps of 61 total. Scott Simley would come home in third. And it was going to be Cody Gibson, the number 8 car, in fourth. Dan Murray would round out the top 5 in the number 5 car.
Ronnie Potts in the number 6 came home 6th, and he's steadily been about in that 4th to 6th range for most of the season. Dwayne Vincent ended up 7th last week, a little disappointing for him. Kevin Lindsay in 8th, Brian Harvey in 9th, and Jimmy North rounded out the top 10.
And then we have to take a look at the updated championship standings. As you mentioned, 4 races to go. Once tonight is completed, only 3 will remain before we crown the champion. And again, a lot of prizes on the line when the season comes to a close in just under a month now. So Adam Benefield, he does sit at the top of the championship standings, sitting on 2 wins right now, 5 top 5s and 6 starts. He has led 360 laps. That is double of the second place car. Bobby Terrell, second in the championship standings. He's 3 points back as well. Also sitting on 2 trips to victory lane. Dan Murray still well in this battle, Harrison. He's only 19 points back in third. Ronnie Potts, 4 back. He's 29 points out of it. In 5th place, Scott Simley, as he finished last week, still only 30 points out. So with these amount of races to go, a lot of these guys still mathematically in contention.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's quite a bit of a gap from 5th to 6th. Not mathematically eliminated, but Kevin Lindsay 20 points out of the top 5 in position number 6. Matt Lacrosse has shown a lot of speed all year, but hasn't gotten the finishes that he's capable of, which has him 7th in points. Dwayne Vincent 8th in points, has won a race, missed a race as well. Started the season not at the first race, but certainly rallying in the points. Cody Gibson currently 9th, and Brian Harvey rounds out the top 10.
So then we roll into tonight's race as just under 30 seconds are left in the open qualifying session. It is going to be the Kansas Speedway, and last night we saw the Cup Series here. That was a day race, and that one was really a crapshoot. Tonight, obviously, the B cars, these cars you mentioned, going to be riding up against that wall, which is going to make passing very hard. Track position going to be a premium. But this racetrack itself, 1.5 miles in length, so 120 laps, going to be 180 miles the distance that we go tonight. A capacity crowd can fit in here of 72,000. This track broke ground back in 1999, opened 2 years later in 2001. It's owned and operated by the ISC. The banking 17 to 20, a little bit of variable banking. The front stretch 9 to 11 degrees as well. 5 on the back straightaway. And Harrison, as qualifying rolls down to a close, explain how hard passing is going to be here, because again, that preferred lane is going to be right up against that outside wall.
Well, absolutely. And with it being a night race, the track has all the grip in the world, and these cars really like that 20-degree bank that you spoke about at the top of the racetrack. And so they'll really be utilizing that. Sometimes in the day races here, the groove widens out, especially when the car rotates well enough, or the car rotates so well that the top certainly isn't ideal. But with it being a mostly top groove racetrack, certainly makes it interesting as far as passing is concerned. Sometimes the tires wear and it opens up a little bit where you are able to pass, but it just goes to show these guys are going to have to be on their game getting on and off pit road. Green flag pit stops are likely, and so that's where they have to really make up their ground.
And the field hits pit road, so we'll bring you down through the Inside Sim Racing TV starting grid. And the best part about these open qualifier sessions is it is not over till that time runs out. And if this was one of those 2-lap closed sessions, it would be a different guy up top. But Adam Benefield picks up a 10th from his fastest time in practice. He'll sit on pole. That's a 30.573 at the top of the board. Dwayne Vincent going to be starting outside on the front row. The number 9 car showing a lot of speed. He was also fastest in practice.
Dan Murray with a solid qualifying run in 3rd. Bobby Terrell will be starting from 4th. He's only 3 points out of the lead.
How about Scott Simley? The number 4 machine will roll for the inside of the number 3 row. That puts him into number 5 starting position. And Matt Lacrosse supporting the pink colors on his number 21 Chevrolet. He'll be in 6th.
Starting 7th will be the number 8 of Cody Gibson. Alongside of him, pretty decent qualifying run for the number 06, Joey Gattina.
Row 5 is going to see the 51 of Doug Manning with a Global Rallycross inspired design on his machine. He'll be starting in 9th. And Ronnie Ponce going to round out the top 10. He'll be outside on row number 5.
Kevin Linton is the first car just outside the top 10 in 11th. Alongside him, the number 13 this week of Brian Harvey.
Nathan Little is going to be starting one more row back. That's going to be the number 13 starting position for his 97 South Point Chevrolet. Alongside him, John Abbott going to be taking up P14.
Jimmy North will be starting 15th at his number 84 Chevrolet. Alongside of him, the number 81 of Keith Brooks Jr.
Jamie Pitts, the number 56 team, is scheduled to start this race 17th position, and this is going to be the final row, and rounding out the field is going to be Sherry Ann Mills. The number 77 GoDaddy Ford will round out our 18-car field. So as the field begins to roll from pit road, Harrison, you talked about it, the fact that this is a night race, these cars have a lot of grip. They're going to like that outside lane, and there's not a huge, field size. 16, actually 18 cars is still a good field size, but I have a feeling these guys can get spread out, and this race definitely has one of those looks that it could go long green flag racing, which is again going to put such a premium on those qualifying times where you got to drive this racetrack. It's a very unique track. A lot of drivers just don't like it.
Yeah, and certainly as far as the likelihood of green flag runs, if these drivers sort out the running positions, get to that high line pretty quick from the start of this race, it could be green for quite a while. But as drivers kind of struggle to get to the ideal groove, and as they try to just get going here, it's pretty difficult to get to that top groove if you're stuck on the bottom, and it should be incredibly interesting to see who gets stuck low, who gets trained, and that could bring us some yellow flags, but looks like some green flag racing will be happening tonight.
So Benefield, as the pace car hits pit road, he is right now in the top spot. He leads the championship, and he's going to lead us to the green. Green flag flies. 85 is going to bring Dan Murray already down to the apron. Murray's going to get second. Dwayne Vincent did not get the greatest restarts, and bumper to bumper for the top 2 spots down into the corner. First side-by-side battle would be for 5th, the 4 car on the attack.
Yeah, Scott Simley in the Ford trying to get clear of that 21 Lacrosse, and he just did. And meanwhile, up front, Dwayne Vincent is looking underneath the 5 of Murray, but he's not going to be able to complete that pass. It was a nice attempt going through turns 1 and 2 there as they were getting up to speed. He knew that would be his chance to make that up, but wasn't able to do that. But they're racing back here for about 6th. The 21 of Matt Lacrosse trying to hold off the number 8 of Cody Gibson. It looks like Cody's going to tuck back in line.
So Matt Lacrosse is going to be able to hold him off. That was the battle for 6, but it was interesting to see that Cody Gibson pretty much had to run that entire lap down on that bottom to middle groove because of the way they stacked up on the restart. Now, kind of had to check up halfway down the back straight because Matt Lacrosse kind of took a peek to the inside on Scott Simley now as they go through the corner from Lacrosse, not too far off, but the 8 machine got stuck down there. He did a pretty good job. Obviously, he was unable to complete that pass, but could have been a lot worse. And the top 2 trying to pull some ground half a second to the good are Murray and Benefield to put a car link that separate the top 2. And again, Adam Benefield continues to flex his muscles in this fixed V car series, but Dan Murray's not letting them get away. That number 5 Chevrolet knocking on the door in 3 and 4.
Yeah, Dan Murray last week in Michigan was really strong in the early portions of that race. Now, he didn't have as good of a qualifying run as he did tonight. I believe he started in 6th or 7th, but drove right up to the 2nd position. And here he only had to drive up from 3rd to get to 2nd. And so another strong start for that 5 car, and the 85 certainly is not getting away whatsoever. And just a little bit more about that start of the race. Certainly as these cars get up to speed, where that low side is at its best is on the first lap after a restart. Just entering turn 1 with the cars not up to speed, they're not going to push too bad on the bottom there, and so drivers can work a pass there, but it's one of those situations where you don't want to get stuck down there too long, which Cody Gibson did, but he was lucky to not lose more than he did. But Just a little bit of, as we ride on board with Cody Gibson, you see him running a little bit lower than the cars in front of him, just kind of testing the water. Sometimes there's a transition between the banking from the very top 20 degrees, a little bit below that 18 or 17 degrees. That middle groove sometimes really loosens the car up, and so you get your lefts down there, might help you rotate a little bit, might be what he's trying right there.
At a 14 of Bobby Terra really did not have a lot of speed at a quarter number 2. That's going to allow Scott Simley and Matt Lacrosse to close the gap on him just a bit to about 1 second. We do have our first car that is down 1 lap at a strange turn of events. It's the American Ethanol Chevrolet of Keith Brooks. He actually got into the outside wall down the back straightaway on the warm-up lap, caught the fence, and at about 3 laps later put it in the wall again in 3 and 4, was forced to come down pit road. He took 4 tires and obviously some repairs, but that has him sitting right now, the number 81 machine, in 18th position, 1 lap down in that car, running pretty off pace with our leaders, about a 1.5 seconds slower per lap. So Keith Brooks Jr. not having a good race early. We're side by side for 16th as Kevin Linden and Sherry Ann Mills duke it out. Looks like the Lowe's machine of Linden on the high side also working some pretty severe damage on his machine. He's trying to work the high side.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking back to see where he got that damage, but there's a lot of significant damage to the left rear. Looks like he actually, earlier in the race, he got the wall through turns 3 and 4, and another driver not able to check up in time got into the back one. But that's really what these drivers are going to battle all race long. With all the grip that high on the racetrack, just brings you that much closer to the wall. So you lose the rhythm a little bit, or you overdrive just a little bit. As the 48 is completely sideways right now, coming through turn 2. He saves it on the apron, so that's not going to bring out a yellow, but the 48 not handling well at all after contact with the wall earlier in the race. But with you running that high on this racetrack, certainly you only have to miss it by just a hair to catch that wall.
It's so easy to catch the wall. It's so easy to get that back in and step out from underneath you on the corner exit that this racetrack, again, very treacherous. And Kevin Linden will lose that spot to Sherry Ann Mills. So the 77 will go up to 16th position after the 48. Again, working a lot of damage. Had that trouble at a corner number 2. You mentioned he got about 15 degrees sideways, smoked the tires for a good 5 seconds, but was able to use that very wide back straightaway apron to be able to keep it pointed the right direction. And obviously no caution would come from that. Starting to spread out up front. Still the closest cars on track, I'd have to say, Matt Lacrosse and the 4 of Scott Simley. They continue to try to close in on Bobby Terrell. Terrell again sitting second in the championship standings. We mention it every week. He does not want another second place finish. And we got big trouble down the back straightaway. Jimmy North is into the inside wall. Caution flag will fly. And it looks like Jimmy North caught the fence at a 2, and once again, Harrison, it was the 97 that was right behind him that had nowhere to go, and he gave that 84 a punt. Jimmy North goes around. He's actually able to keep it off the inside wall, but does get a fair amount of damage on his Lowe's Chevrolet. We do go under the caution flag period, and the 84 machine of Jimmy North, he does claim responsibility for that incident.
Yeah, Jimmy North was actually in the middle of trying to pass that 97, completely cleared Nathan Little in the 97, and then just overestimated just how much grip that he had coming out of that corner. So the 97 there, not having anywhere to go once Jimmy North got stuck in the wall, lost a lot of momentum, so quite a bit of damage to both those cars.
And we have more trouble just before that caution flag flew. About a lap or 2 earlier, Keith Brooks Jr., who we mentioned was having some issues in the American Ethanol Camaro. He was down already 1 lap and actually spun it at a quarter number 2, I'm going to say. The 81 kind of stepped up the hill, tried to get a handle on it, and that was lap 7 for him. So I know he was off pace with the leaders, but he caught the wall, went around on the racing surface, and left the sim. So his night is done. He'll get an 18th place result. Our leaders are down pit road, led by Adam Benefield. Benefield going to have the advantage of the number 1 pit stall for qualifying on pole position. Looks like 4 tires. Do we see a 2-tire call? The 20 of Matt Lacrosse is going to be the first car off, right side tires only. And it is going to be Dwayne Vincent, it looks like, the first car on 4. And we were about 3 wide for 3rd off pit lane. Looks like Dan Murray would have got that as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of like that 2-tire call just because of how hard it is to pass. I think track position will come at a premium. Obviously, the next time he heads down pit road, I think he's really going to want 4 tires. But it seems like the way this car handles when a driver takes 2, it used to be that it would loosen you up quite a bit and you'd really be fighting it. Now it seems to just result in an overall lack of grip. The car just doesn't have that that latitudinal grip, I guess is what it would be. It just it just wants to go up the hill. And so Matt's going to have to watch it a little bit. He's going to be probably tighter than he was before, and it's going to feel a little bit different, so he's going to be feeling it out. But at this track, as long as he can get to that high side pretty quickly, I think he'll be all right.
That will cycle Adam Benefield, who again led us down pit road, and I said having the advantage of that #1 pit stall, and you would imagine he would be the first car off on 4 tires. That not being the case, because it is going to be Dwayne Vincent, the first car off on 4. Dan Murray going to be the second car off on 4. It looks like Benefield just didn't get to the gas pedal as much as he would have liked coming off of pit road. Maybe he was still in second gear, because Dan Murray left pit road left his stall about the same time as Benefield did, and he was about 2 stalls behind him and passed him before they hit those cones that mark the positions exiting pit lane. So Benefield's going to slide back to 4th. Bobby Terrell's going to sit 5th. Again, those are the top 2 drivers in the championship standings. But again, we can't forget Dan Murray, the next closest, still 19 points out of it. And the way that Benefield and Terrell have been running all season, Harrison, that is not an easy feat to make up. However, in 6 starts, it's a pretty impressive stat to state that Benefield and Terrell have 5 top 5s, but when they did not get those top 5 finishes, they weren't even inside the top 10. They have had 2, or they've each had 1 off race so far this season in the opening half. So, if anything, that's something that Dan Murray can hold on to, and if he continues to run solid, knowing that, you know, if they continue to run strong, if he does whatever he can, and they have some sort of mistake, he can get back in his championship hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. All he needs is 1 good race while the competition around him doesn't quite have such a good race, and he's right there. And he showed he has the speed. Last 2 weeks he's looked really good. All season he's looked solid, though. Just not quite on the level that Benefield and Bobby Terrell have been. And Murray's still looking for his first win of the season, but he's won plenty of races before. Would not be a surprise at all to see him go to victory lane, possibly even tonight. But as we come up on this restart, just a little more than half a lap from now, it's going to be really interesting because Dan Murray's going to be on the bottom of the track on this restart. Bobby Terrell also on the bottom. Benefield has the outside. Dwayne Vincent on the outside as well in the front row. Dwayne didn't get such a good start of the race, and on the first restart, I think from the same position, he wants to redeem himself a little bit and ensure that he doesn't lose anything here. So it certainly will be really interesting here to see who gets stuck on the bottom and who benefits.
So it was Matt Lacrosse who challenged late last night in the Full Throttle Cup Series, trying to take the lead. He'll restart lap number 15 as we come to the stripe as your race leader. It is going to be Dwayne Vincent, as you mentioned. Outside pace car dives down to the safety pit road. Matt Lacrosse is checked out. Green flag flies, and Vincent got a much better start than he did the first time, already down to the apron as they cross the start-finish line. Benefield trying to get 3rd from Dan Murray. Murray on the bottom is not going to be able to keep a nose at the quarter panel. He'll slide in line. Going to be side by side for 5th.
Yeah, that side-by-side battle, the number 14 of Terrell just trying to get clear of the 4 of Simley, which he does. Now the 8 of Gibson looking under Simley, trying to make that bottom work. But Gibson thinks better of it, entering turn 3, tucks back in line. So no one losing too much on this start. Dan Murray actually losing a little bit from 3rd. Just didn't quite react as well as a few of the guys around him. But Dwayne Vincent actually going to the bottom off of turn 4. Dwayne Vincent, number 9, to the lead. Those 2 tires for Lacrosse, I believe he just got extremely tight coming out of turn number 4, and that was everything that the 9 car needed. And the 9's got 4 fresh tires, and the track position now is looking really good for Vincent.
And Benefield tried to do the same thing. He pushed up real bad off the corner, and that right rear just grazes that outside retaining wall, I believe, in turn number 3. So that's going to open up the door. The 5 of Dan Murray goes to the bottom. He goes down to use that apron, and last night it was a questionable call as to if that apron would actually give you any sort of benefit, but they are going to say side by side. The 5 machine not able to take that wicked arc to the bottom. He's forced to use the middle lane, does not work. Adam Benefield will leave quarter number 2 in sole control of that number 3 spot, and actually Murray, after pushing up, that's going to give a huge run. Bobby Terrell down to the inside, almost having to pull a slide job of sorts where he goes low, slides up in front of traffic. He gets another pass on out of 4.
That was one of the first real competitive passes at full speed I've seen. Bobby Terrell did a great job in turn 3 there. When you go to the bottom like that, when you're so used to the top, you have to approach it a completely different way. And the number 14
oh, he's sideways. There
sideways.
he goes. The 14 of Bobby Terrell. He's going to hang on to it, but again, just snapped sideways like we saw. I think it was Kevin Linden earlier in the race, and Terrell's going to get back going, but there goes all that precious track position as he watches his competitor in the championship standings, Adam Benefield, sail away as he sits third. This is going to cycle Terrell back from what was position number 4 at the stripe. He's going to drop back to 12th spot.
Yeah, and that is oh so frustrating as a driver because you know just how difficult it's going to be to pass at this track. But I was just going to say, I was just in the middle of saying that he did such a wonderful job in turn 3 because it's such a different approach that you have to take to run the bottom here than the top. And so it's something that he probably didn't practice all that much. And so you're just kind of learning in the middle of the race. As the number 51 of Doug Manning, I believe, just caught the wall in front of Terrell. So that's 1 spot for Terrell. He's going to be up to 11th right now. But what happened there, he was straddling, the 14 car was straddling that dashed line in the next corner. And those lefts can really loosen you up when you're on a flatter banking like that. And it just really came around probably unexpectedly for him because it sure was unexpected for us.
So Nathan Little is trying to capitalize on the 51 of Doug Manning. As you said, he caught the fence. The 97 went low at 1 and 2, was unable to make the pass. He'll drop back in line about 4 or 5 car lengths now as Doug Manning is actually able to pull some ground off of corner number 4. So Bobby Terrell knows he's got to get back to work because not only has he dropped so many spots, he's now 5+ seconds away from Dwayne Vincent. The battle is on for second. I feel like there's going to be an attempted pass here in the near future because Adam Benefield, again, on the 4 tires, trying to get around Matt Lacrosse, who sits on 2. Lacrosse drives it in a little bit harder. The 85 backs up the corner well. He's going to go to the bottom, and side by side, it is going to be Adam Benefield. He'll utilize that apron at the start-finish line, and he'll clear Matt Lacrosse down into corner number 1, Benefield to P2.
Yeah, that was a very smart pass set up by Benefield there. He knew if he just dived down into turn number 3 underneath Lacrosse, Lacrosse was probably going to have no problem there and just run hard enough to retain the position. But he got Matt overdriving a little bit, and Matt with his 2 tires is tighter to begin with. So that 21 car just got real tight in the center of the corner. Benefield able to tuck underneath down the front straightaway, get right on past. So the 85 car, though, about 0.8 of a second behind the leader. And so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to track down Dwayne Vincent right now, who's in control of this race.
And now everybody is pretty spread out. We still have 16 cars on the lead lap. Sherry Amell's the last car on the lead lap right now, 8.2 back from race leader Dwayne Vincent. Jimmy Norris sits 1 lap down after having that spin down the back straightaway. He is 17th, and again, Keith Brooks Jr. had a very rough start to the race, caught the fence before we even got to take the green, and had that spin at a quarter number 2 that did not bring out a caution, but that forced him to bring that car behind the wall and evidently ended his night. So we still have 17 out of the 18 cars that started actively in this race, and you said it was about 0.8 Harrison Adam Benefield flat on at 0.6 of a second off that last time by the start-finish line. Change of position for 7th. Ronnie Pont's going to stick the hand out the window and let the 8 machine and Cody Gibson go on by, so they'll swap for 7th and 8th.
Yeah, that's some smart racing there. I think Ronnie Potts just decided that the 8 car behind him was a little bit faster, and he doesn't want to put himself in a bad position. Ronnie right now 4th in points, only 29 out of the lead, only 10 behind Dan Murray, who we were talking about before, having a very real chance at competing here. So Ronnie Potts has looked really good in the points, and that's part of why he's a very smart driver. But up front, the lead continues to decrease 4.5 tenths from the number 9 of Vincent to the 85 of Benefield. Of course, catching and passing are 2 different things here. It'd be interesting to see how Benefield approaches it, but it certainly looks like he's going to be on the back bumper of that 9 car before long.
I'm going to say, and you touched on it there, that catching somebody and passing them are 2 whole different ball games. So Benefield continues to close in. They're running almost an identical line, and I think the 85, and we saw him execute the pass where he backs up the corner, dives low. He did that to Matt Lacrosse. A very good approach to that. Both of the top 2, they're utilizing that apron. Benefield going to cut another about 0.8, I want to say, off it again that time by. So continues to close in. It's about 5-6 car lengths, I would say, between the top 2, but it's corner off. You see the 85 was able to pick that throttle back up so much sooner than Dwayne Vincent, and is really able to utilize that run down off the hill on 2, down off the hill on 4 to be able to close it and also try to utilize whatever draft, whatever slipstream that 9 car is giving off. But Adam Benefield is coming to no surprise because, again, the 85 roll speed dynamics machine has been one of the strongest all season long. It's down to about 0.3 of a second for the top 2.
Yeah, he's certainly, and those 2 drivers in the top 2, needless to say, some of the fastest laps on the track. One of the other really fast drivers on the track, I have to go all the way back to Bobby Terrell, who's gotten up to 10th. Obviously, it's going to be really difficult for him to get to this lead battle without the help of a caution or a little bit of strategy, possible short pitting, something of that nature. But Bobby Terrell also still running very fast times, about equal to the last laps, or about equal to the last lap of the 85 of Benefield, who now is only 2/10 off of that 9 car of Vincent. And so with these drivers, it's probably a 1 pit stop race with that caution that we had on lap 11. You know, we could see the 85 of Benefield just stay in line and play it easy and try not to lose any ground on the drivers behind him and then try to make something happen with that pit stop, should we get there, of course. But I think if he sees an opportunity, he'll probably go for it. He's racing.
And he's top 2 as they battle it out. They really start to pull away from the rest of the field. Matt Lacrosse, who was just about 1.5 out of it, he's over 2.2 seconds back. Dan Murray is just now starting to pull away. Scott Silling was all over him, and Dan Murray was actually able to complete that pass, so he starts to check out, and Silling slides back into the clutches of Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson sitting on the trip to victory lane so far this season, as he tries to close in on the number 4 car right now. This is going to be the next battle as he's knocking on the door. He's right up on a bumper. Does he go low this time? No, he'll stay in line, take another crack at it down the back straightaway. He's pulling a similar scenario that we saw Benefield do, back up the corner a little bit, duck low off the corner, and it doesn't look like the 4 car's going to pull over for him, so they'll have to duke it out for that spot. Meanwhile, they're really closing in. Top 2, they're working around lap traffic. That's the 84 of Jimmy North.
Yeah, close call there. The 85 was really cutting it on the 84 of Jimmy North there, working through the tri-oval, but no harm, no foul there. Scott Simley, actually, what made life a little bit easier for the 5 of Dan Murray to get by Simley was Simley just caught that wall while running the high side there, and really Dan couldn't have been in a better place to take advantage of that, and Cody probably hoping for the same mistake, but a little bit of right side damage there on that 4 car, and that's just going to be one of the recurring things throughout the race here. It's just so easy to just catch the wall with how high you are on the track. All you have to do is just barely overdrive. But I'm changing position here for position number 4. That's the number 4 of Simley going by the 21 of Lacrosse. Maybe those 2 tires just fading a little bit compared to these guys on 4.
And we got a battle for the lead. Dwayne Vincent had given it up, pulled a sick crossover in 3 and 4 the last time by, and has been able to get back to the number 1 spot. So a well-played move is going to keep that Napa Chevrolet in the number 1 position. And now we got caution, trouble back in the field. 1 car into the inside wall. The 48 machine, Kevin Linden, is going to have a self-spin at a corner number 2, much like we saw Jimmy North have and much like we saw Kevin Linden have earlier in the race. And this time, he's not able to keep it off the wall. He tanks it pretty hard with the left side, and we go under caution.
Yeah, that's some pretty serious damage for that Lowe's car. And when we saw him catch the wall much earlier in the race and then get contact from one of the cars that was near him, that can really change the way the car feels. And it looked like it made him a lot looser. And when you fix the, you know, I'm sure he's fixed a lot of the damage for this run, but you know, sometimes contact like that just kind of moves the placement of the rear end in these cars. It becomes a real handful to drive. The 48 actually loses the engine, so the 48 of Linden going to be going to the garage now because he has no power.
So back down pit road we go. Matt Lacrosse, I'm sure he's liking that. He'll probably go for 4 tires after the experimental 2-tire call did not work. Good thing for him is we're only on lap 35. We'll cross over to 36 as pit stops are completed here. And oh, both the top 2 could overshoot their stalls. Both Dwayne Vincent, both Adam Benefield go in too hard. Is this going to open up the door? Can Dan Murray cycle through as he goes left side tires to complete his 4-tire stop? Could he beat the race off of pit road? Both of them back to the gas. It's a drag race. Dan Murray's going to get it over Dwayne Vincent.
That was big. And, you know, I think these drivers realize just how important it is to be perfect on these pit stops because of track position being at a premium here tonight. And both of our top two probably feeling that pressure, just got a little bit too much. But that's what racers do. They go for the limit. Sometimes they exceed them. Dan Murray, the beneficiary there.
Working under the caution flag period, lap 35 and past the quarter distance mark in tonight's Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault Series race presented by InsideSimRacing TV. It is Dan Murray who will cycle up behind the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car. He is your race leader. Going to step away for our first commercial break of the evening. We'll have more racing from Kansas City on the other side. Back live, the green flag in the air. Dan Murray leads him down past the start-finish line to take lap number 38. It is going to be Adam Benefield utilizing the inside of that second row. He'll take the number 2 spot as Dwayne Vincent now has to hold off that 8. She loves the bottom on those restarts. It's Cody Gibson up to side-by-side for second. He'll slide back a little, but he keeps the nose at the quarter of Benefield in the 3.
Yeah, big run for Gibson, starting 5th this run, and he's trying to make the bottom work. It just doesn't look like he's going to be able to clear Dwayne Vincent there on the outside. Looks like there's a pretty good gap back to 5th, so Cody should tuck into the 4th position right here, but that's a good run for Cody, as we've seen him trying to get going on the bottom before earlier in this race, and he was stuck around 6th or 7th. Right now in 4th, though, just feeling the pressure a little bit from that 21 of Matt Lacrosse.
So Murray now goes up to the top spot, and we've talked about him being the 4th, or rather the 3rd place driver in the championship standings, 19 points out of it, and has yet to make a trip to victory lane, is sitting on 4 top 5s, has not finished outside of the top 10 in any of these races so far. He's the only driver to have done so, so sometimes consistency is key. But right now, the Hemsaw Chevrolet is up at a #1 spot. I'm sure he'd love to get a trip to victory lane, get himself some bonus points, and he catches the wall at a turn 2. There goes Benefield at the bottom. You think he's going to bring Dwayne Vincent with him? Yes, he does. It's going to be side by side for second. Vincent on the bottom. Benefield is clear. He's up to the #1 spot, and Vincent charging along down on that white line is going to slide up. He'll have a nose on Dan Murray at the start-finish line.
Yeah, that's a pretty rare mistake for Dan Murray. Very solid, very consistent, but it just goes to show just how on the edge these cars are as far as over-exceeding that grip and catching the wall. Not too loose here, unless you get a little bit down on that groove over those dash lines where the transitions are between the different bankings. But these drivers are going as high as they can on the racetrack to get all that grip out of the car, and it just goes to show you just how easy it is to just catch that wall on exit. So Adam Benefield able to benefit from that, get right out to the lead, jump out to about 4 car lengths right now, but Dwayne Vincent was not able to get by that #5, so he only loses 1 position on that ordeal.
So we return to the same old song and dance, and that is Adam Benefield up at a #1 position right now, and I'm sure Dwayne Vincent wants to take a crack at him. He's all over Dan Murray. He went to the bottom there and again had a nose on him at the start-finish line 2 laps ago, but was just really not in a position to be able to challenge and complete that pass down on the inside lane. So he dropped back in line to 3rd. He gave a little bit of a tap to Dan Murray on the left rear that last time around the backstretch as we work through 1 and 2 now, to let him know that he's there. And also, how about Cody Gibson not too far off as well, who's really been trying to take advantage of these restarts, who's 4th. But both those cars, I think, are going to have to try to get around Dan Murray sometime soon. I think they're a little bit faster than him as they run right now. Benefield's been able to pull about 3/10 of a second, or about 6 car lengths back to Dan Murray. But Dwayne Vincent knocking on the door. He's going to try to sneak up to the high side as Dan Murray went down to the apron. Almost got a nose there, not quite. They remain single file down to 1 and 2.
Yeah, Benefield likes what he sees in the rearview mirror right now because he knows that the 5 car has been fast, not as fast as him this race, but that right side damage from catching that wall off the corner certainly doesn't help the speed of these race cars, and so he's seen Dwayne Vincent have some pretty good speed this race, and he knows that Dwayne's just trapped right now. He's not able to complete that pass. Dan's keeping enough speed to hold the #9 back there, and that's exactly what Benefield needs to distance himself. And we saw Benefield catch Vincent earlier in the race and complete the pass for the lead. And so this puts him in a pretty good position right now.
Single file throughout the field. 1 car slow. Matt Lacrosse at turn #2 down the back straightaway, caught the safer barrier and lost a lot of speed. He was 9th last time by the start-finish line. Nathan Little and Joey Katina are able to get around him, and he took a look to the inside on Katina that time out of 4th, but again had to lose a lot of speed working that bottom lane, so he'll lose 2 spots to 11. Brian Harvey wants to make it 12th spot because he's making a huge charge on the outside lane into #13 Chevrolet. He'll get that spot as Matt Lacrosse again after that 2-tire Kyle Harrison. He caught the wall. He's working that right side damage, and that 21 machine has just not shown the speed sense that he did in both practice and the qualifying sessions.
It's such a frustrating thing as a driver because you just wish you could just rerun that one corner that did a number of that gave your car a bunch of damage, because once it's done, it's done. It really affects the way these cars drive, and it really affects the straightaway speed that these cars have. Aerodynamics meaning so much, but now a car into the wall right in front of Lacrosse. That time it was Brian Harvey in the wall. This time Lacrosse benefits from that. Is going to move up to the 11th position, Harvey back to 12th. And actually Harvey back to 13th as the number 10 of John Abbott goes along on his outside, drives on by for 12th. And so that theme continues here. Just very easy to just barely catch the wall here. All you have to do is overdrive just a taste, and you find yourself in the fence.
And an update on the 48 car, again, Kevin Linton, who brought out the most recent yellow after having a self-spin at a corner #2. He caught the inside wall. He is behind the wall. His night is done as he sits right now 13 laps out over with Keith Brooks Jr. retiring earlier on in the race. That's going to give Kevin Linton a 17th position finishing at they run right now. Jimmy North, the only car still in the race that is not on the lead lap. He's working a lot of damage after catching the wall at a turn 2. Got a little bit of a nose to the back bumper from Nathan Little and caused a caution earlier in the race. So Jimmy is limping his Chevrolet around in 16th. Only car one lap down, so next caution would actually give him that wave around. A pretty spirited battle going on for 14th. Sherry Ann Mills, Jamie Pitts swapping positions, as Sherry Ann Mills right now sits 14th, Jamie Pitts in 15th. 56 rode the back bumper of that 77 Ford all the way down the back straightaway. Interesting enough to note, neither of these cars, Harrison running right up against the fence like our leaders.
Yeah, I think they've gotten into the rhythm, I guess I should say, of racing each other, and a lot of times that really changes the way you approach the track. Sometimes when you're not feeling the high line quite as much, we see Sherry Ann doing a huge arc to the bottom there, and that can work, especially when the track doesn't have quite as much grip, or in the day. It doesn't work quite as well here at night, as she stays in the middle there until a late arc on the exit here, but that's one of those things where those two drivers were racing really hard, and sometimes that takes you right out of your rhythm and kind of changes what you do lap after lap.
Battle going on for position number 3. We are on board right now with Sherry Ann Mills for the number 14 position, and also on board with race leader Adam Benefield. So you can take a look at a difference in the two lines that those drivers are running. Benefield P1 and Mills sitting right now in the number 14 spot. So you can compare the lines that those two cars are taking as Benefield continues to pull away just slightly from the Wayne Vincent. It's up just short of 0.8 of a second. The gap between the top two. Dan Murray is under attack though, and it appears Brian Harvey having some sort of difficulties. He has brought it down pit road, and he's taking it behind the wall. His night going to come to a premature ending as well.
Yeah, I think after Brian Harvey caught the wall a few laps ago, he just did not like what he felt in that car and didn't think that he could really fully recover from that. And that's one of those things that's hard to recover from. Once you catch the wall, you knock the toe out whatsoever, you could just lose 0.2 a lap just like that. It just does not want to turn well at all. It can almost feel like you're driving on snow versus in the rain. It just not as much grip to those front tires. And so that's going to be a spot for Jimmy North, who is the last car running right now.
Doug Manning hard in the fence in 3 and 4, and he's going to spin it coming down the front straightaway, down through the grass. The Puma Chevrolet, no caution as he caught that wall going into the corner, stuck on it for the majority of that corner, was running up inside of a top 10 contending position and down to the 8, but again, he nearly spun it. He's able to hang on. He'll blend back up in traffic right now, just behind Jamie Pitts and Sherry Ann Mills. So he'll go to the last car in the lead lap spot. That's going to cycle him back to about 14th position. Tough break for Doug Manning. He's had a rough night as well after qualifying and starting 9th. Showed a lot of speed, was 4th in the practice charge, but his race has not gone the direction that they were hoping.
No, not at all. And another scenario, just very easy to get stuck in the wall here. It's like once it catches you, it's just so hard to get off of it. And he was able to snap it off the wall coming out of turn number 4, but it just sent him right to the grass. And no caution as his car got out of the way in a hurry. But a lot of lost track position, a lot of lost time on the track for that number 51 all the way back to 14th. And you know, it's not going to be long until the leader is going to be breathing down his neck. And that's what a lot of these drivers are fighting here. And it's a game of not overdriving, just so easy to catch the wall here.
Well, the gap between the top two drivers has been closed by 1/10 of a second. It is still a substantial margin in racing terms. It's 0.6 of a second between the top two. I think Benefield picked up about 3/100ths that last time by. Dan Murray has not been able to pull away, and in the same retrospect, Cody Gibson has not been able to pass Dan Murray. Those two still go at it for the number 3 spot. Those cars 3rd and 4th as they run right now, about 1.5 seconds back from our race leader. And oh, big trouble down the back straight. The 97 and Ethan Little is way off speed, caught the fence. The 21 of Matt Lacrosse got into him. They both had to get hard on the brakes, and it was the 06 of Joey Gattina who went to the apron. He gets 2 spots in that exchange. No caution. Everybody keeps it pointed forward.
Yeah, just Nathan Little got tight exiting turn number 2, caught the wall. Lacrosse was right there, had no time to react really, and so Lacrosse had a little bit of right side damage before. Now he's got that front end damage to go along with it. That's not going to help the car either. But that whole exchange, a lot of left rear damage on that number 97, and he tucked in back behind Matt Lacrosse, and so Lacrosse actually now struggling as the 97 gets back by him. So it's been a wild one for that 21 car.
You have to imagine that's got to be frustrating for Matt Lacrosse. And I know you touched on it, that you're going to run all these laps of green, and you keep thinking back to that one corner where you just overdrove it, just got in there, you know, not the way you wanted to, caught the fence, and that little bit of damage not only has given your car damage, it slowed you down that little tick, but it's thrown your mind out of it, it's thrown your mentality off, your rhythm is all out of whack, and it only continues for us to see Matt Lacrosse go the wrong direction. So you have to imagine that that is a rough experience for Matt Lacrosse, being able to stay out there. We do have a pass going on for P13. Doug Manning is going to pass the 77 Sherry Ann Mills up on the outside lane at a quarter number 4 and behind the stripe. So Sherry Ann will drop to 14th. Doug's going to go back up to the number 13 spot, but both of those two cars throw Jamie Pitts in the mix as well. They are 23 seconds back, at least, all three of those cars. If you want to correlate that, that's about 6 seconds, actually 6-8 seconds in front of Adam Benefield. If this goes green for much longer, they will be in immediate risk of losing that lead lap.
Oh, absolutely. And in the middle of the pack right now, we just had a very interesting exchange. John Abbott just got up to position number 8. Right after we were talking about Matt Lacrosse, the two cars in front of him, I believe it was the 97 of Nathan Little as well as the 06 of Joey Katina, got in the wall in front of him. Lacrosse kind of shot through the middle of the track, got 2 spots, and then about a corner or 2 later, Matt Lacrosse caught the wall again, and that opened the door for John Abbott to get on by. So gain 2 and then lose 1 for the 21 car of Lacrosse. And you know, it is one of those things. It's an interesting thing when you have that one situation that seems to just offset a complete chain of events. Things just seem to compound really quickly as a driver.
And that's the thing about running green flag races, a lot of green flag laps, is the fact that you can sit out there and you can work for 30, 40 laps on a long green flag run and get maybe 1-2 spots. And as you just said there, Harrison, you have one bad corner, you get that back end stepping out of you on one corner exit, and you can lose double the spots that it took you 30 laps to make up in one cycle through of a lap. So it's that balance that you have to find, the risk versus reward, the consistency, the momentum that you have to keep up. You want to talk momentum, Dwayne Vincent was actually, he's going to go the wrong direction. He got it down to half a second, it was 5/10, and just as quickly as he gained all that, he lost it, and he goes back to 7/10 back. And again, the top two continuing to pull away from everybody in the field. We have a couple of cars, 3 cars within, I want to say, 3/10 of each other. Matt Lacrosse trying to make a pass. John Abbott's in the fence. The 97's going to get into the back of him. That's Nathan Little. Again, the Nathan Little machine cannot catch a break. That's 3 times tonight the car in front of him catches the wall, and that's a pretty good lick on the front end of the 97 at Nathan Little. John Abbott will drive away with the rear end damage. Matt Lacrosse gets the positions in the end of that, but at 97 at Nathan Little, that South Point Chevrolet has taken a beating tonight.
Yeah, it just seems like we're playing roulette out here. Spin the wheel and see who the next car is to get into the outside wall, and you know, that could ruin your race in a hurry. That number 97 South Point Camaro for Nathan Little, front end damage, right side damage, left rear damage. He really looks like he's been at a race at Martinsville or Bristol, and that car is certainly not handling as well as it did at the drop of the green flag. But right now, holding steady in about 10th. These battles have been going on from about 8th back to 11th, and quite a distance right now from 10th to 11th, about 9 seconds, as 11th, 12th, and 13th very close to going a lap down.
Sherry Ann Mills is in an immediate risk of that. One car slow on the apron is the 56 of Jamie Pitts. He's going to be bringing it down pit road. He caught the wall at a 2 the last time around. Is this the end of the 56's night? He was about to lose his lap. He will go 1 lap down as he ducks down the pit lane.
Yeah, and I think it might be a situation of short pitting once he knew that he was within his window, because a lot of times when you're in danger of going a lap down and things aren't going your way, you kind of bite the bullet, head down pit road in that situation. Try to make up ground with those fresher tires, and while everyone else stays out much longer than you have to. But 56 down there on pit road, fixing damage after his pit stop, I believe. But that seems to be par for the course. A lot of times the driver will go a lap down and then immediately cut to pit road, and I think that's what his strategy is here.
So he'll roll out, and again, we're just a couple laps past the halfway points. We'll give you a full field rundown presented by InsideSimRacing TV and Derek Spear Designs as they run right now. And Dwayne Vincent is going to catch lap traffic at a very inopportune time. Cherian Mills caught the wall right in front of him. Dwayne Vincent actually goes into the wall, trying to avoid her. Here goes Dan Murray. There goes Dan Murray. The 8 machine of Cody Gibson into the mix. The 8 machine of Cody Gibson gone. And Dwayne Vincent, just like that, from lap traffic, will go from 2nd to 4th. And now we'll have to work some minor right side damage.
Yeah, that's not going to help the handling of that car at all. Certainly, especially over the right front tire, that fender really caved in, a lot of air going in between those fenders underneath that hood. And that is certainly a loss of straightaway speed, a loss of grip. And he goes from 2nd, you know, running pretty comfortably, about less than a second out of the lead. Now he's in 4th, about 3.5 seconds out of the lead, and I think that lead is just gonna, that leader is gonna keep driving away. That gap is gonna increase. And meanwhile, in 5th, actually, Bobby Terrell has worked his way up to 5th. He's about 5 seconds out of the lead, which he was much earlier in this run. But you know, he's been looking pretty stout, solid lap times, and certainly the rebound that he needed. A nice methodical move forward since he faded to about 12th when he got loose much earlier in the race.
And Terrell again recovering from those earlier race problems, continuing to try to pick his way through the field. I think what might have got that 77 of Cherian Mills in the wall as she exits pit road now is the fact that she was trying to slow it down maybe a little bit more to back it up, went up the hill, caught the fence, because she did come down pit road immediately after. Whether that was the plan or whether that was because she caught the wall and had evidently lost her lap about 2 laps before that, not too sure, but 3 laps down she goes to the number 14 position right now. That gives us 11 cars on the lead lap, and we'll try that full field rundown again. Hopefully none of our top runners catch the wall. It is Adam Benefield first, Dan Murray in the number 2 spot, Cody Gibson up to 3rd, Dwayne Vincent has cycled back to 4th, Bobby Terrell is 5th, 6th Scott Simley, Ronnie Potts at 7th, Matt Lacrosse at 8th, John Abbott 9th, Nathan Little gonna round out the top 10.
Doug Manning right now, we saw him go through the grass earlier, back to 11th. Jimmy North in 12th. Jamie Pitts currently in 13th after already making a stop. Cherian Mills back to 4th, and we saw her just come off of pit road. And right now, 15th out of the race, Joey Gattina, Brian Harvey, Kevin Linden, and Keith Brooks Jr., all 4 behind the wall.
I was going to say, Joey Gattina out of the race, and that happened on lap 60 for him. He nailed the wall pretty hard, and guess who was behind him? The 97, Nathan Little. Nathan Little got forced into the wall from that as well, so Joey Gattina is out of tonight's race. He'll finish 15th. Those back 4 guys are no longer on the racetrack. But, I mean, Nathan Little can just not catch a break. That's going to add the tally up to about 4 or 5 cars that have caught the fence just about a second in front of him, and he's had nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think, what is that award that they used to have for the Cup Series? I believe it was the Goodies Headache Award. And I think he's up in the running to win that in this race. Certainly quite a few headaches, possibly. You know, what is that? Probably 5 or 6 different hits into the outside wall, and maybe 2 or 3 in the back of someone else, catching the wall right in front of him. And it's been a rough one for that Chevy, but sticking with it. And we have only about 50 to go, so he's trying to get it to the end here, still within the top 10.
Jimmy North 1 lap down. He'll go around John Abbott. John Abbott is a lead lap car, so that pass not for position as Abbott sits right now in the number 9 spot. His number 10 Chevrolet Impala rides around there right now. It is all Adam Benefield again, and he was starting to pull away, and then Dwayne Vincent started to close in, and then he started to pull away once again. Vincent caught the wall. That gives him a 2.7 second buffer to second place on back, and the 84 of Jimmy North is going to find the wall once again in 3 and 4. John Abbott is able to get around it, and 84 of Jimmy North making a couple comments that him and the wall have become quite close friends in this race, because the 84 machine is pretty torn up as he continues to sit. And again, what would be the lucky dog position? Nathan Little going to go around John Abbott. That is a pass for position number 8. 56 in that mix as well. Jimmy Pitts a lap car, so John Abbott going the wrong direction. Give a spot to the South Point Chevrolet.
Yeah, John Abbott coming through 1 and 2 actually caught the wall, so that's the name of the game tonight, is keeping it off the wall, especially if you're running about 6th on back or 7th on back. It's been a real struggle back here as they continue to race. Jimmy North right up by that number 97 Nathan Little is actually Matt Lacrosse on the apron there on the bottom. He just made his green flag pit stop within his pit window to go the rest of the way. And so
two
short
tires
pitting,
only.
Definitely a strategy, 2 tires only, so that's an interesting call. Just took as much gas as he needed with 2 tires and off he went, trying to get some track position that he really wants. But it's going to be interesting here coming down to the end of this one because, you know, a number of these guys are short pitting back here, and I think a number of the drivers in the top 5 want to go about as long as they can, thinking, you know, they don't want to get caught by a yellow flag.
And it's always one of those risks that you have to see, not only in the fact that a caution could really fly at any time, especially at a racetrack like Kansas Speedway, but the fact that, and like we saw, cars on fresh tires working around lap traffic, cars going 2-3 wide. The way this track acts, if you go to the bottom, you're going to eventually come back up to that wall. If you're not clear, things can get pretty ugly. So it is the cycle green flag pit stops that can really get these guys stuck laps down. Doug Manning right now is in the lucky dog spot. The 51 car 1 lap down in position number 9. The 51 is yet to come down for his service of stops. But he's obviously trying to hang on to the lucky dog spot. And the idea behind it is people that short pit, and maybe not as much in the sense that we're seeing from Matt Lacrosse because he only took 2. The 51 in the wall pretty hard. That's Doug Manning in 3 and 4. But a short pit, the idea is you're going to go out there, you're going to have fresh tires. They'll be running a couple tenths, if not seconds, faster than the guys up front at that time. So in theory, when they leave pit road, you're going to gain some time. On the flip side, when those leaders leave pit road, they'll have fresher tires than you, and they'll try to chase you back down. So it's always an interesting strategy. Call short pitting. Obviously, we've seen it a couple times so far tonight. Matt Lacrosse trying it out. But he took those 2 tires earlier, Harrison. It didn't really work out for him. He slid back from 1st to 5th on that short green flag run. He's going to go with it on the long one. You have to think that he must have seen something that he liked if he was going to go for it again after testing the waters earlier on.
Yeah, he certainly knows what to expect, Matt Lacrosse, and so he knows how to drive, and he knows where it's going to be tighter than 4 tires and things of that nature. But also, I think he just knows that even though the car is going to handle a little bit worse, he wants to grab a couple of seconds by virtue of not staying as long as a 4-tire stop would take on pit road. One of the drivers up front that short pitted was the number 8 of Cody Gibson. Actually came in from 3rd. He was running 4th for most of that run until Dwayne Vincent caught the wall when the lapped car in front of him caught the wall. And so Cody Gibson was up to 3rd, had been top 5 all run.
Oh,
and,
Nathan Little in the
right
wall.
now being shown in 9th.
Nathan Little's going to catch the wall again at a corner number 2. He has announced that that's the last straw. He's going to come down pit road now for his cycle of green flag stops, and he had a couple of close calls there. He was driving with Matt Lacrosse. Matt Lacrosse, again, who's already come down pit road on his final run here, his final stretch of the race, was trying to get around the 56 car lap machine of Jamie Pitts. Pitts got the wall right in front of them, checked both of them up, but eventually 2 laps later, it would be the 97 machine in the wall once again. Here comes race leader Adam Benefield down to pit road. Dwayne Vincent going to cycle through the race leader. Bobby Terrell also on pit road, along with Ronnie Potts.
Yeah, all those drivers coming down, I was thinking for a second if one of them would try to stay out and catch one of the others a lap down. But I believe we're just hitting that pit window where they don't have much of a choice but to come down and maybe a couple of laps shy of how far they could go. But Dwayne Vincent continues to stay out. Scott Simley, who ended up in 2nd after those 3 came down pit road, is on pit road now a lap later. So Simley comes down, and really the last driver standing out there on the track right now is the number 9 Dwayne Vincent, so we'll have to see if he comes down this time by.
Yeah, Scott Simley's going to come down from what after he cycled through to be the number 2 position. I'm going to be interested to see the 4 machine of Scott Simley is working some damage, Harrison. If you were in that position, would you stay those couple extra seconds to maybe get some of that damage repair, or do you just go with fuel and tires only? We'll have to see right sides up.
You know, I think when the damage isn't too bad as far as the speed it's affecting your car, if you're still able to run somewhat competitive times, I think you don't fix any damage. You just stay as long as you have to, because it is so hard to make up seconds on the track here.
Well, he takes all that he needs to. It's going to be a 4-tire gas and go for Scott Simley. No damage repairs going to be done on the number 14, but again, that is a longer stop than what we saw Matt Lacrosse do. So right now, Dwayne Vincent is the only car on the lead lap. He is yet to come down pit road, again hoping that if he can get a caution, he'll be able to come down pit road and to have fresh tires. Everybody else will get the wave around but that would obviously put him in the wheelhouse, being on the freshest tires, and would get the #1 starting position, as long as it's not his Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet that brings out the yellow. The list of cars in order that are 1 lap down would be: second position is Adam Benefield, third Dan Murray, fourth Cody Gibson, Matt Lacrosse, the 2-tire call, has him in 6th spot.
Yeah, and actually, Dwayne Vincent, this reminds me a little bit of Kentucky, where, you know, I was sitting here scratching my head a little bit, thinking he might have gone a little bit too far along, just thinking that there might be a caution that would trap him. But similar strategy here, he's got the whole field trapped a lap down, and the longer he goes, the fresher his tires will be once he does come down pit road compared to the rest of his competition. And so, not sure how much farther he can go on fuel. Right now, he's being looked at by the number 97, Nathan Little, with much fresher tires. Caught that number 9 car is probably going to duck underneath him very shortly. But Dwayne continues to stay out here.
And we close in. We are past I'm going to go with the 2/3 mark in tonight's race as we close in on what's going to be lap 90. It'll be 30 to go. In just about 3 laps, Dwayne Vincent continues to stay out on the racetrack. Look at the 97, Nathan Little. He's going to take 1 lap off, so he was 2 down. He'll get 1 at the back the old-fashioned way by passing Dwayne Vincent. That's going to give us position 2nd through 10th. Down just 1 lap. 84, Jimmy North, who's 1 lap down, has announced that he'll bring his Jimmy Johnson Foundation, the Lowe's Chevrolet car, down pit road this time by. That will obviously put Jimmy at least 1 more, if not 2 more laps down. We do have 3 cars 2 laps out of it. That's positions 11th through 13th to John Abbott, Doug Manning, Jamie Pitts. Sherry Ann Mills 3 laps down, actually back on pit road, just now leaving for her final stop at 4 tires, gas, and go for Sherry Ann Mills. 14 cars on track.
Yeah, Sherry Ann pitted not long ago, but she wasn't actually within her pit window, so it's just gas and go this time. Doesn't lose too much too much time on the track doing that. But as Dwayne Vincent continues to stay out, one of the drivers that just unlapped himself was Adam Benefield. So 2nd car on the lead lap, but that's 31 seconds back to that number 85 car. But I think he has to feel pretty comfortable because he knows that number 9 car, every lap that he stays out there, he's losing time. And now the number 9, Dwayne Vincent, going to come down pit road, and he gets down to pit road speed in time. And so it's going to be interesting to see where that number 9 car blends in on pit road exit.
And again, with those guys pitting before him, you would have to think that they're going to gain some sort of time advantage over him. However, Dwayne Vincent, depending on what kind of tire strategy he goes, he'll have to put less fuel in it, but he will have fresher tires in the latter stages where he'll be playing offense and most likely trying to catch those guys. Right side tires going up on Napa Chevrolet, fuel going in. Looks like it's going to be a 4-tire stop for Dwayne Vincent and off. And now as he exits his pit stall, it is going to be Adam Benefield who is cycling down the back straightaway. So as this is all cycling through, Dwayne Vincent appears that he's quite a good distance back.
Yeah, it's Benefield right now working his way through. We'll have to see what the timer looks like once the scoring cycles all the way through. But it looks like he quite a bit better than I expected. Actually, Adam Benefield with a huge lead right now. Dwayne Vincent caught that wall earlier. That's what deceived me for a moment there, where he was losing quite a bit of time with that right side damage. So he really lost a lot of time staying out. A gap that's probably not it's an insurmountable gap as far as the lead is concerned. But certainly Dwayne will be in that battle for 4th very quickly.
14 seconds. The gap that's just shy of half a lap as Vincent enters 3. Adam Benefield just now hitting through corners number 1 and 2. So the closest competition for the top spot, 1.9 seconds back. That is Dan Murray. Cody Gibson, 30's 3.3 back. You talked about Dwayne Vincent most likely going to become part of that P4 battle, trying to chase down the number 4. Scott Simley, who sits in that spot right now, 12.3 back from Benefield, or just over 2 seconds in front of Dwayne. We have a couple of cars fairly close together. Ronnie Potts, Matt Lacrosse were separated last time around by just 4/10. They run maybe 8 car lengths apart. That's for positions 6th and 7th respectively. Bobby Terrell, last car on the lead lap after moving up to 5th. Harrison, he's 8th spot, and not liking where that 85 machine sits right now up the front of the field.
No, and I'll have to go back and see if anything happened to Terrell in his pit stop, because It's a bit surprising that he lost as much ground as he did. I'm not sure if just actually he sat on pit road a little bit longer, possibly fixing some damage, but not more than a couple of seconds, maybe 4 or 5 seconds. But that certainly didn't help him. But Bobby probably felt that the damage was affecting his car a little bit too much, wanted to get that taken care of. But you know, that just the top 3 are just looking golden right now, because we're coming up on we're actually on 25 to go right now, coming up on 24 to go. It's a 2-second lead from Benefield to Dan Murray, and Benefield is just pulling away. Meanwhile, Cody Gibson in 3rd running solid lap times, no pressure at all for that 8 car behind him. Quite a gap, about 9 seconds from 3rd to 4th with Scott Simley, and that 8 car probably has his sights set on that number 5 of Dan Murray.
Big trouble for the 84 of Jimmy North. He catches the wall out of 4 on lap 92, self-spins it, goes down through the grass, and unfortunately for him, when he tried to correct that car, went down onto pit road, so he'll get a unsafe pit entry, I could imagine, an excessive speeding and pits penalty. So he had to go back around all the way on the apron, come down pit road. He's taking tires, and now he'll have to sit in his stall to get those necessary penalties resolved. So Jimmy North's rough night goes from bad to worst, is now adding insult to injury. He is down for a lot of penalty time, and it'll definitely drop him, I would think, to the last car running, which would bump Sherry-Ann Mills up to the number 13 position, depending on how much longer Jimmy's got to stay in his stall.
Yeah, Jimmy North there had a lot of damage on his car when he lost it there, and I think his car just had a lot of looseness dialed into it because of the damage that he sustained earlier in the race, and so that car not handling typical at all, to say the least. And Dan Murray actually lost quite a bit of ground just a couple of laps ago, so that's going to move Cody Gibson up to 2nd now, 3.5 seconds out of the lead. But Dan Murray just getting loose out of turn number 2, saves it all the way on the apron. Really a fantastic save just on the backstretch, lap 98. But Murray had a lot of room to work with, so he only loses 1 spot out of it. But Cody Gibson looking at his best finish of the year, or season, excuse me.
So Adam Benefield, he works down the back straightaway, and this next time by the start-finish line, he'll take our sprint 20 to go, we'll call it, as he continues, as you said, to only furthermore pull away from Cody Gibson. The gap, 3.5 seconds, and growing. You see Benefield, he gets around the 84 of Jimmy North. Jimmy's going to lose, I think that would be his 6th lap, which does indeed cycle him back to 14th position. Again, 14 cars still in this race, 8 of them now. Matt Lacrosse, 8th position, 8 remain on the lead lap. We have 3 1-lap down, Nathan Little, Doug Manning, John Abbott. J.B. Pitts is 2 down, and 12th, Sherry-Ann Mills, 13th, 4 back, and then, of course, Jimmy North, he's 6 lap backs in 14th. Joey Gattina, Brian Harvey, Kevin Linden, Keith Brooks Jr., the 4 cars that have hit the pit lane. Cody Gibson looking like his time is starting to run out as this one begins to close in, but if this comes down to it and there's possibly a late race caution, can't count that 8 car out. He's running lap times not fast enough to catch Benefield, but pretty even with him.
Yeah, we've seen so many drivers just barely catch that wall, and while it seems a little bit less likely that Adam Benefield would make a mistake here and catch the wall, and his line's a little bit lower on the track than a number of drivers. He's really straddling that dashed line, probably trying to keep that little bit of rotation that you get when you dip your lefts onto that slightly less banking, but there seems to be a lot of grip in that line that Benefield is taking, and the closest that he comes to the wall is right there on exit. He really doesn't sweep up very high in the center like many drivers tend to do here, and so that's sort of what Gibson's fighting right now. Is just you know, you don't want to see the drivers in front of you have bad luck, but hey, you'll take it, and that's pretty much Gibson's best chance right now is capitalizing on a mistake from that 85 car. But would that mistake come? Probably not likely.
And we're going to step away for our final time under racing conditions, as this race sees Adam Benefield holding a 3.5 second gap over Cody Gibson. He's trying to make a race win number 3. It's race number 7 tonight, the Kansas Speedway RSR Asphalt Assault Series. Inside Sim Racing TV, Derek Spear Designs on board this season. We'll step away, we'll come back and take it down to the checkered flag. Can Benefield get it done?
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Back live at the Kansas Speedway here in Kansas City, Kansas for race number 7 on the 2014 RSR Asphalt Assault Series campaign. Again, presented by InsideSimRacing TV. Derek Spear Designs, a lot of great prizes up for grabs, not only for the champion, but a top draw for the top 25 finishers at the end of the year to walk away with some button boxes. And this sees the top 2 in the championship battle it out early, but it looks like, Harrison, that this one may swing in the favor of Adam Benefield. He works through 3 and 4 this next time by the start-finish line. It is going to be 10 laps to go as he opens up now 1 more second on Gibson, 4.5 to the good at the stripe.
Yeah, no pressure at all for Benefield. That's exactly what he wants to see. Actually, what he wants to see right now is 5 laps to go, because that would guarantee that the caution flag ends this race. Certainly, if a caution were to come out now, might give him some doubts about what strategy to take, because only 8 cars on the lead lap, so you know some people would come down pit road should the caution fall. So that number 85 car, almost a 5-second lead on Cody Gibson, just over 9 seconds on Dan Murray, who's currently in 3rd. So he wants to get to 5 to go as quick as he can.
Battles throughout the racetrack. We have a couple of cars within just 4/10. That is Bobby Terrell, who sits 6th. He has gotten around the 6th of Ronnie Potts and now trying to pull away for 6th and 7th. Matt Lacrosse sits right now as the last car on the lead lap in number 8 spot, as Nathan Little has lost the lap. Again, we've documented his troubles tonight in the South Point Casino Chevrolet, and he's had a rough one, to say the least. Doug Manning lets the 4 car go by. That is a lead lap car, but again, the 51, another car with trouble, and not really what can only be described as a crapshoot that we saw last night with a Cup Series guys here in the day, Harrison. But this race has been dictated by these long green flag runs and who's been able to really keep it out of the fence, keep that car clean, and keep your head screwed on the right direction to be able to survive. As Adam Benefield now puts Matt Lacrosse 1 lap down. Only 7 remain on the lead circuit.
Yeah, in racing, it's not who runs perfect for the entire race or even for an entire lap. Perfection is simply impossible. It's who makes the least mistakes, and as we've seen, very easy to make mistakes here. This groove is so high on the track. The cars, when overdriven, get tight so quickly, and so Adam Benefield, we haven't really seen him make any noticeable or really notable mistakes, and you know, he's rewarded with a 5.5 second lead right now, and it just keeps on growing. Right now 6 laps to go, so one more until a caution would end the race. He certainly does not want to see a caution right now, but I think his hands would be tied with a caution now to stay out, but I think a few might come down pit road if that were the case, but he only has a half a lap to eradicate that thought from his mind.
Again, with the no green-white checkers, a caution basically from 4 to go. It's going to be 5 to go this time by, but once we get down to these latter stages, a caution would end it. So Adam Benefiel, at this point, you can pretty much call it, it's his race to lose, unless it is him that brings out that caution flag. That would not help him in any sort of way. Ronnie Potts is the last car now in the lead lap. We talked about how Bobby Terrell has been able to get away from him. He's already pulled about 2 seconds on him. How about Dwayne Vincent, who we saw up front leading a lot of laps? He's now 5th position. And again, wrong place, wrong time. Caught Sherry Ann Mills when she got into the fence. She was lap car, so running significantly off pace with him as he was running obviously one of the top 2 cars on track. She caught the wall. He had to check up. He brushed the wall. I don't really think it damaged his car to any sort of description, a little bit of sheet metal damage, but the fact was he lost so much momentum, he lost all the track position, and he got thrown out of his rhythm. That's why he finds himself 18 back. By the way, Adam Benefiel has probably picked up a fair 7/10 of a second the last time by. It's about 10 seconds now, the top 2.
Yeah, Cody Gibson lost quite a bit of time the last couple of laps. He's been catching the wall, and thankfully he's got a huge gap. He's got 4 seconds behind him to work with to hold off that number 5 of Dan Murray, but Benefiel just really stretching his legs and just pulling away from the entire field, over 10 seconds to second right now with only 2.5 laps to go. It's going to be 2 to go at the stripe. Cody Gibson, he's got to watch these laps because, you know, one more mistake, Dan Murray could be coming. Actually, there's a car completely sideways down the backstretch. I don't know if this will bring the yellow out. It's the number 84. The yellow flag is out, and that will end the race as long as Adam Benefiel can stay under power, get to that checkered flag. It's his race to win.
And again, it is Jimmy North who just turn 2 has just not been kind to the 84 team all night long, and caution comes out, and Adam Benefiel is going to get the trip to victory lane. It is 11.5 seconds when the caution came out, the gap that he had over Cody Gibson, and Dwayne Vincent giving his congratulations obviously on that trip to victory lane, but just about 3 laps short than Cody Gibson, Dan Murray and company were hoping, because they are not going to get a shot at the 85 of Adam Benefiel. You mentioned he just needs to stay under power. The white flag going to be in the air this time by as they catch up behind the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car, and it is 1.5 miles at the stripe to win number 3 in the season for the 85 team.
Yeah, this is going to be an 8 or 9 point a gain for Adam Benefiel, or that's about how much he's going to stretch his distance on Bobby Terrell, who's going to be about 10 or 11 points out of the lead when this one's all said and done. It helps him breathe a little bit easier. You know, certainly when he fell out of the race a few weeks ago, he really felt the pressure there, and I believe it was at Kentucky that he had that mishap, and but you know, he showed speed early in the season, and he's showing speed now. Just simply dominated this race for the most part, and had to pass some cars to do it, but he made the least mistakes, and he had the fastest car out there, and he has to be feeling a little bit better heading into the final 3 races. Obviously, 10 or 11 points, you can lose that with the snap of a finger, so it's not over until it's over, but certainly a step in the right direction for that 85 car here tonight.
And it is going to be 1 week's time that we will see race number 8 could be under the lights at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, NASCAR's backyard. For that event, going to be on LSRTV as always. No off weeks in this series, back to back to back for the rest of the season. 3 to go after tonight's race, but 7 races now in the bag. And as Adam Benefiel works through the triangle down to the apron, going to be win number 3 on the season. The Roll Speed Dynamics machine to victory lane. Adam Benefiel on top tonight.
And we'll be speaking to Benefiel shortly about this one, but certainly a race with a lot of torn up cars, a lot of bent up right sides, and Bobby Terrell not able to fully recover from that looseness that we saw early in the race. A lot of times during this race, that 14 car looked like he was about a 2nd or 3rd fastest car on the track, but only able to end up with a 6th place finish, and certainly not one of the nights that he needs in order to compete for this championship, but he's still in it, and he's a winner this season. He could be a winner next week, so we'll have to see what happens next week. But that's the number 85, all 85 tonight.
A lot of contact here after the checkered flag as Sherry Ann Mills comes across and takes a checkered, and there was somebody waiting on her. It was the 56 Jamie Pitts, who went up and gave her a little bit of a shot to the door. And, evidently the 77 tried to give the 56 a shot back, and it is the GoDaddy machine that goes around. So I'm not sure what, if anything, was behind that, but Adam Benefield's going to burn it down on the front straightaway, as we said. Race win number 3 on the season. Going to step away for the final time on LSRTV. We'll come back, talk to the top 3 finishers, get you set for round 6 from Charlotte in 1 week's time. We'll be right back.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks and terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Back live at the Kansas Speedway as Adam Benefield is victorious after 120 laps, and we're going to get a moment to talk to the top finishers, but first going to give you the Inside Sim Racing TV full field rundown. Adam Benefield going to walk away in the #1 spot. He is tonight's big winner, race win 3 on the season. Cody Gibson, a solid 2nd place result for him. Dan Murray will come home in 3rd. Scott Simley going to walk away with a 4th place result in his #4 machine. Dwayne Vincent will have to settle for 5th. Bobby Terrell, 6th place. He's able to pick up a few spots after dropping back in the early stages. Not the night that he wanted, to say the least. Ronnie Potts, 7th place. Matt Lacrosse will hang on for an 8th place. He had a long night. Nathan Little, another driver who met the wall a couple dozen times, we'd have to say. Rough night. He's able to get a top 10. He'll get 9th. Doug Manning will round out the top 10.
And outside the top 10, we saw a number of cars with ruffled fenders, and also a little bit of ruffled tempers, as we saw after the end of this race. But John Abbott came home in 11th. Number 56, Jamie Pitts, came home with 12th. 13th was Sherry Ann Mills. 14th was Jimmy North. He was our last car running. Saw him bring out the last caution. 4 cars out of the race. That'd be 15th of Joey Gattina, 16th Brian Harvey, 17th Kevin Linden, and the number 81, Keith Brooks Jr., finished 18th.
And now we're going to send it down to pit road. Harrison, you're down there, and you have caught up with our 3rd place finisher, going to be the number 5 of Dan Murray.
Yeah, Dan Murray, and what we saw was a really interesting race. What looked to be a lot of difficulty keeping these cars off of the wall. How difficult was it to keep this car off the wall with how high you guys were running on the racetrack?
It wasn't that bad if you were smart, but I wasn't real smart at all. So it was more difficult for me, I guess.
And we saw you last week finishing 4th, coming home with 3rd this time, and it feels like as we've gone deeper into the season that number 5 car is showing up more and more as contending for these wins. Do you feel like you've been gaining on him?
Not really. Car is good. I feel like first few runs I'm decent, and then something happens where I lose my mind and then make a lot of rookie mistakes. So I got to figure out what my problem is and fix those before I can think about winning one of these things, I guess.
And we saw the 85 carrying just a lot of speed this race, fastest car on the track, and you were around him for quite a bit, especially earlier in the going. And were you able to see what he was doing really well to have such an advantage?
Yeah, he wasn't making mistakes, and that's all you got to do when you're driving these things up close to the wall like that. You just can't afford to make any mistakes whatsoever. And with these cars being momentum the way that they are, it's one mistake and you're hurting. Especially with Adam. Adam's good, and Cody's getting better and better. So when you make mistakes, you just can't come back from them as easy.
Still, after tonight, even though Adam was able to pull a couple of points on you with his win, third in points, 25 out, so still very in. And next week heading to Charlotte. How do you like that racetrack?
Charlotte's okay. It's not one of my better places, but it's a fun track to race on, and kind of looking forward to getting out of Kansas, to tell you the truth. So you could put Bristol reverse race on the schedule, and I'd be happier.
Yeah, certainly some disappointment in your voice, and still to come out with a top three. So it's a real good effort to get a third place finish in a race where really a lot of cars were struggling in to get a hold of this racetrack. And who would you like to thank? Who makes it happen for you?
All the guys at Still Horse Racing, they support me in everything that I do. The only reason I run this series is because they put up the money for me to do so. So I appreciate everything that they do. And Kevin Pearson for painting the car, he did a wonderful job. And then I Can't Designs, he paints all my other stuff with Greg Evans. They do an outstanding job.
It's our third place finisher tonight, third in points, Dan Murray. And Evan, I believe you've caught up with the second place finisher.
We're down on pit road. Cody Gibson going to come home with a number 2 result tonight, Cody. Second place after starting tonight's race 7th. You were 9th fastest in the practice, so a progressive gain throughout the night. I know you were working a little bit of right side damage. Seems like everybody met the wall at least once or twice throughout the night. How did that play out, and what ended up making you just too far behind to really put up a fight there with Adam at the end?
Yeah, I knew I wasn't the fastest one on the track there, but I knew if it would stay a green flag that I would have a chance. For some reason, I'm just awesome on long runs. I mean, there ain't nothing else to say about it. But yeah, and I seen a couple people mess up in front of me, and once I knew that I could take advantage of it, then there at the last, I seen Dan kind of get sideways and he saved it, and I just, a teammate there, and I just hate to see that. But, man, it was just a good run.
You're going to be able to pick up 1 spot in the championship standings. You'll bump up to 8th spot past Dwayne Vincent when the night is all said and done. But it's going to be your second top 5 on the season as well. So you have to think, obviously, things picking up for you and the team towards the latter stages of this season. Rolling forward, Charlotte going to be coming up in 1 week's time. How confident are you rolling into that one?
Probably about as confident as I am rolling into this one. I mean, for some reason, I just can't get it down on the fast, first 15 laps. But I just come in when I guess I'm just better at saving tires than most people because I ain't as fast as at the beginning. But we'll just see how it has to play out and keep my nose out of trouble.
Definitely going to be hoping for a long green flag run in 1 week's time. Before we let you go, sponsors and shout-outs, who makes it happen for you and the team?
I thank all the boys at Still Horse Racing, especially Dan Murray, my buddy Adam, and all the guys that over there that support me and, makes me faster. And Gas Monkey Garage, which the car I was running in that, Chevrolet, and that's pretty much it.
Well, congrats on another solid, your second top 5 of the season. Good job making that front row, and we'll keep it on that eight machine moving forward here on those long runs.
Yes, sir, and I'd like to thank RSR for putting all this on Monday and Tuesday and Friday nights.
That is Cody Gibson going to come home, a top 2 result for him tonight, but this is a familiar sight, I think it's safe to say it, Harrison. At this point, you're down there in victory lane with the driver of that 85 car.
Yeah, and it was quite the dominating performance, but it wasn't all easy throughout the race. And Adam, in a track that looked incredibly hard to pass low with that groove so high on the track, we saw you take the lead at least twice, as far as I can remember, making the pass on the bottom. And what do you have to do to really set up those passes? Because obviously not many people were able to pull it off.
Well, you just got to really ride and wait for someone to make a mistake, and just they bobble just a little bit. You just got to pounce on it and make your move. And on that, when me and Dwayne were up there battling, which first off, by the way, I think Dwayne had the best car in the race, hands down. It's very unfortunate what happened with him, but he got loose coming out of 2, and I was able to get beside him down the back stretch and clear him, and he crossed me over, and I went down in the turn coming out of 2, and I did the exact same thing, so it was basically like a chess match. You just had to be there to when they slipped.
Yeah, and with this, your third win in 7 races this season, and even with that race a few races ago with the connection issues, really took you out of contention for the win in that one. Lost a bunch of ground, up to a 13-point lead, and so obviously that's not the safest lead in the world, but you have to be feeling quite a bit better than you were for the past couple of weeks.
Oh yeah. Gaining 10 points on Bobby, it's good. I thought I was about to get on a streak like Kyle Busch in the Nationwide Series, start having a fast car, dominating, leading laps, and not being able to finish it. So I'm glad I was able to get the swag back tonight, and hopefully it'll help us too from on the Cup side. I felt like we should have been a top 3 car last night, and just unfortunate issues went down.
And certainly in this race, saw a lot of drivers making mistakes, a lot of drivers catching the wall, running so high on the track. Didn't see you make that mistake, I don't believe, once, if I recall. So how hard was it to keep it off the wall? Do you have to back up the entry a little bit, just make sure you didn't get above that groove a little bit?
Yeah, it was the hotline there, man. It's tricky, on old tires. You really back up your entry. And the best way I can describe it, you play with the throttle like you do at Darlington. But the only thing about it is if you get too far below that top seam, she starts dancing with you. And so you kind of got a little fine line you got to ride right there. But once you get the hang of it down, it's really not that bad.
And you certainly had the hang of it tonight. And next week, heading into Charlotte, how do you like Charlotte? Different, very different style track, but still a mile and a half.
I love Charlotte. I love it. The sister track to Atlanta, and we had a great performance at Atlanta. So I'm hoping we can go into Charlotte and do the same.
Any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my newly formed back with them teammates for the Nationwide and RSR program. Stillhorse, we swept top 3 tonight, so that was awesome. Good job to those guys, and Roll Speed Dynamics, my wife, for letting me do this. First off, should have put him first, but God, keeping me alive and keeping all of us where we're able to come on here and enjoy and hang out with each other. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. That's Adam Benefiel, tonight's winner in convincing fashion, Evan.
And definitely not the first time, Harrison, that we've been able to say that this season as he continues with his dominance. So we have a look at the updated championship standings. Exiting tonight's race, 3 racers remain in the hunt for this championship. Charlotte in 1 week's time, Phoenix, and then Homestead for the championship finale at the end of the month. But after tonight, it is Adam Benefiel. 3 wins now up at the top of the pile, now 13 points over Bobby Terrell, who is in second. Dan Murray will slide to 25 back. Adam Benefiel is showing why he has those wins right now, Harrison, and starting to maybe pull away with this. 13 points is not a lot, but the 85 machine really has been strong and the fastest, if not one of the fastest cars in all the races so far.
Yeah, and as we've seen, nothing is guaranteed in racing, so can't get too comfortable. And of course, Bobby Terrell, who's second in points, does have 2 wins on the year, so that's just 1 shy of Adam, who got his third tonight. And it'll be interesting at Charlotte. Charlotte's a racetrack where, you know, in the more recent builds on iRacing, it's become easier to run the top side at Charlotte. Pretty difficult to pull off a pass on the bottom. A little bit similar to the way Kansas is, but certainly the groove's not as high on the racetrack, and it's probably a little bit easier to pass at 1 and 2 at Charlotte. But it should be interesting because another 1.5 miler, and have to wonder if the 85 is going to look just as strong next week.
Charlotte is always a fun track to go to, and much like tonight when you put us out here and you put them under the lights, it just makes the racing that much more exciting. So we look forward to that one in 1 week's time. But until then, that wraps up our broadcast for tonight. On behalf of everybody at LSRTV and RSR, executive producer Laura Lawson, and down in the production hall, pushing all the buttons, working all the cameras, and getting us on air as she does week in and week out, Harrison Weilitz for joining me up here in the broadcast booth, my partner in crime week in and week out. My name is Em Posogo. Thank you for tuning in once again. Adam Benefield, 3rd win on the season. We'll see you 1 week's time. Race 8 going to be from Charlotte.